And then we'll get started. And having a block nearby, we'll make our way down onto our mats. And we'll begin lying down, as we so often do. Because lying down is such a lovely way for us to feel our bodies. And this act of feeling our bodies is the foundation of our yoga practice. Our yoga practice is, we do the physical form of yoga, the asana practice, the form of getting in touch with our physical reality. And in working with our bodies, we're going to impact the state of our minds. So as we're lying down, we're going to bring our awareness to the feeling of our bodies. Recognizing the way the body feels as the floor supports us. Feeling the weight of our feet, our low back, our shoulders and arms, and our head as they connect with the ground beneath us. And then letting our awareness go to the feeling of the rest of our bodies, the parts of the body that aren't touching the floor. Noticing the feeling of the air, the feeling of our clothing on our skin. Noticing as well the full experience of being here now. So if you can smell anything, notice that. Notice what you're hearing. There's the sound of my voice, but maybe there's some other sounds that you can hear as you're lying back. And then begin to notice your breathing, your breath. Notice the feeling of your breath as it moves into your body. Notice the feeling of letting your breath release and empty out. Notice what it feels like to breathe slowly, fully, and deeply. Slow things down. As the breath flows in, notice how it expands into your lungs. Notice how the belly softly rises. As the breath empties out, notice how the lungs, the ribs soften or contract a bit. The belly releases, softens, drops. And when we just focus our awareness on the feeling of the breath, perhaps notice how the mind settles. Its only job now is to notice the movement of breath in the body. Feel the feeling of breathing. This is mindful awareness, if we just focus on one thing. So let's focus our awareness on what we're experiencing, on what we're feeling. As we now begin to open our eyes, I'd like you to find your block now and just grab it and place it in one hand. Doesn't matter which hand. Take that arm up to the ceiling and let the weight of the block rest into your hand. And the block isn't very heavy, so perhaps imagine it's a little heavier. And imagine that the weight of the block was transmitting down your arm and inviting the back of your shoulder to drop more heavily into the floor. So the shoulder might normally be up a little bit. Can the weight of the block, the imaginary heaviness of the block, encourage the back of your shoulder to drop into the floor? I'm going to change arms so maybe you can see that better. Then begin to take that arm out to the side. As you open the arm out to the side, we're going to hover it a little bit off the floor. And with your arm hovered a little bit off the floor, can you release the back of your shoulder into the floor? Soften your inner arm and kind of soften your elbow. Kind of hollow out your armpit. And with the back of the shoulder heavy on the floor, begin to bring your arm slowly, gradually back up toward the ceiling without lifting your shoulder off the floor. So the back of the shoulder stays down as your arm comes up. And then that imaginary heaviness of the weight of the block, releasing maybe slightly more the back of the shoulder into the floor. And then begin to reach your arm overhead. Reach it over back behind you. And when you do that, maybe your shoulder kind of shifted or moved or lifted a little bit. With your arm overhead, can you again release the back of the shoulder heavily down into the ground and maintain that contact of the back of your shoulder on the floor as you start to bring your arm back up toward the ceiling. So the arm is coming up, but the shoulder is staying heavy and down. And then once your arm is up, just begin to bring that arm down at your side. Once the arm is down at your side, just set the block off to the side and then just release your arm onto the floor. And I'd like you to notice how that left shoulder and that left arm feel. And notice if there's a difference in the feeling of your left shoulder, neck, or arm, or not necessarily left, whatever arm you were using. Notice if that feeling in that side is different than the other side. Potentially that shoulder or arm is dropped further back, more open or more relaxed. Just notice and take a breath. And then let's do that on the other side. So taking the block in your other hand and reaching that arm up toward the ceiling. And imagining that that block were a little heavier than it actually is. So the weight of the block starts to transmit down the arm, encouraging the back of that shoulder to drop more heavily into the floor. And with the back of the shoulder resting into the floor, begin to open that arm out to the side, taking it out to the side until you're hovering it a couple inches off the floor. And with that arm out to the side, can you kind of soften your upper inner arm, soften your elbow, and just feel a sense of heaviness or hollowing out in your armpit area. And then with the back of the shoulder heavy on the floor, begin to bring that arm slowly, gradually up toward the ceiling again. Can you bring the arm up and keep the back of the shoulder down? And then begin to take that arm overhead, reaching back behind you. And when you do that, does the shoulder shift or lift? Can you again allow the back of the shoulder to be heavy on the floor and maintaining the contact of the back of the shoulder on the floor, begin to slowly, gradually bring that arm up toward the ceiling. Once the arm is straight up, the back of the shoulder is heavy down on the ground. You can begin to bring your arm down to your side, set the block off to the side, and then just rest that arm on the floor. And just notice how it's feeling in the area of your neck and shoulders. What we just did is called shoulder reset. It can help to bring the shoulders from the more forward position that we so often are in and bring them back into their more natural alignment, more broad and open. So now let's take both arms up toward the ceiling. And same idea, we could bring the shoulders forward when the arms come up, but can we keep the back of the shoulders down, the collarbones broad? And then we're going to bend the elbows so the fingertips point back towards the wall behind us. And then we'll take one foot and then the other off the floor, coming into dead bug position. Bent knees, bent arms. From here, let's lift the arms and legs up, kind of stretch out the back of your legs a bit as you reach up. And then bend your arms and knees back to that starting dead bug position. So do that a couple more times. Inhaling to come up, and then exhaling to bend, and inhaling to come up, and exhaling to bend. So let's do that same type of movement, but opposite arm and opposite leg. So one arm and the other leg go up, and then we come back to bend, and then the other arm and the other leg go up, and then back to bend. So just cultivating some contralateral movement, opposite arm and opposite leg. One arm lifts, the other leg, and back to bend. One more time on each side, just waking up the brain, getting the two sides of the brain working to move the two sides of the body. And then we'll lift both arms and legs up toward the ceiling. We'll draw an imaginary line down the center of the body and try to keep that line steady as we take one leg out to the side and the opposite arm up to the side. As we're doing this, we're trying to keep the hips steady and not let the hips shift or lift. And then we'll bring that arm and leg back up. So we'll do the other side. As the leg goes out to the side, can you keep your hips from lifting or shifting? Leg and arm go out, and then we come back up. So slow, gradual movement here. We inhale as the arm and leg go out to the side. And then we exhale as the arm and leg come back up, taking our time here. Inhale as the arm and leg go out to the side. Exhaling, arm and leg back up. And trying not to have any movement in the trunk. So that line from your chin, sternum, pubic bone, that whole line doesn't shift. It's one rock steady line as we open to the side and we come back up and we open out to the side. Nice job. Come back up. You could take a break if you would like, or do it one more time on each side, opening out to the side and coming back up. One more time, maintaining that stability. Challenge yourself. Make it hard to maintain the stability, but make sure that you can do so. Great. So we'll go to the next layer of dead bug here. We're going to reach one arm overhead. The other leg, you can either bend the knee and tap a toe down, or take that leg and extend it forward until it's a few inches off the floor, and then bring the arm and leg back up. And then other side, opposite arm and opposite leg extend out as you breathe in. And the exhale brings the arm and leg back up. Inhaling to extend. And exhaling back up. A few more like that. Inhaling to extend. Exhaling back up. Moving with the breath. Waking up the core here. And working the two sides of the brain to coordinate the movement of the two sides of the body here. Maybe one more time on each side, taking a break if you need one. Last time here. And after the arms and legs come back up, let's all take a little break. We'll hug our knees in, release the low back, maybe sway a little bit, do what feels nice. Notice how you're feeling. There's one more layer of dead bug. We're going to lift our legs up and our arms up in the air one more time, and then reach both arms overhead this time. So as you're here with your legs up in the air, there's probably contact of your low back on the floor. If we start to extend our legs away from us, the low back is going to begin to arch. So I want you to very slowly, consciously take your legs a little bit slowly further and further away. And notice what happens in your low back. Your low back is going to want to arch. You can engage your core to keep that from happening, but at a certain point, you're not going to be able to keep the back from arching more than its neutral amount. At that point, draw your knees in, inhale your legs up. As you exhale, really slowly, with awareness of what's happening in your low back, let the legs move away from you. You can maintain that contraction in the low belly to support the low back up to a point, and then the back starts to arch. So the knees draw in, inhale the legs up. So everyone has a different degree to which the legs will extend out before they draw the knees in. So go at your own pace, focusing on your own body's experience. And maybe one or two more times like this. You can inhale as the legs go up and long exhale as you take the legs away from you. And maybe you do one more like this. And then the next time you draw your knees in, reach your arms up, reach around, grab onto your knees. Again, release your low back. Maybe sway a bit if you like. And then let's release our feet to the floor. We'll roll to the side, push ourselves up, and come around to all fours. Getting our knees beneath us, our wrists beneath our shoulders. Feeling the spine here nice and long, taking the gaze down between the hands. So if we feel our spine nice and long to begin with, let's take a breath in. Then as we exhale, let's start to round the back. We're going to drop the tail down, start to round the low back, mid back, upper back, push hands down, drop the head. And then come back to our nice long neutral spine. And then let's begin to arch the back. Lift the tail, drop the belly, draw the heart forward, look forward, breathe in. And then come back to your flat back. Move into flexion or rounding. Come back to flat back. Move into extension or arching as you breathe in. And just do those two movements a couple more times. If you like, as you come into either of the movements, you can move a little side to side or a little front and back. You can kind of do what feels right for you. Just kind of enjoy this opportunity to wake up your spine and move with your breath. You can see what feels good. And then after your next movement, just come back to your long neutral spine. Let's take one leg back, pressing out through the heel, and take the opposite arm forward. Just hold here for a moment. Notice how the core kicks in to support us, to keep us from tipping over. Could you press back through your heel a bit more and pull your toes down and feel the whole leg activate as you press out strongly through your heel? Can you reach a little further with your arm, creating a little more length from heel to fingertip? And take one more breath. And then release that hand and that knee down. Let's do the other side. Take the other leg back and the other arm forward. Hold here. Just holding here cultivates not only core stability, but the muscles that support the spine are working here. Let's press back a little more through the heel, pull the toes to the floor, reach out through the fingertips, take one more breath. And then again, hand comes down, knee comes down. Let's sit back into child's pose. Sitting back, rounding over the legs, releasing the forehead, maybe to the floor, maybe onto your bent arms. Let the head and neck relax. Feel the breath moving into the back of your ribs. Allow the breath to release and empty here. Take a moment to check in and notice how you're feeling for one more breath. And then with our next inhale, let's lift the head up, reach the arms out, make our way to downward facing dog. Taking the hips up and back. Just kind of stretch out here. Release your head and neck. You can pedal your heels down. You can move your hips a little bit. And Play around with what feels good. Really press your hands firmly into the floor. Let's bend both knees a bit. And can we lift the hips further up and back? Maybe lift the back of the thighs up as we take a deep breath in. We'll exhale the breath all the way out. And then let's walk our hands back towards our feet, ending up folded over the legs, arms and head heavy, feet firmly planted. Let's draw the belly in now, begin to slowly, gradually roll ourselves up, taking our time to unfurl the spine. Eventually allowing the head to come up. And then when you're rolled up, come and stand facing your device with your feet a little wider than your hips and your toes turned out. We'll do some sumo. So let's take the hips back and the knees forward, making sure that the knees are bending forward as the hips are pressing back. So knees are bending out towards the toes as your hips are moving back in space. From here, let's lift the right heel up real high and lower it slowly for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Let's lift the left heel up real high and slowly lower. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Can we lift both heels up real high and slowly lower? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. And then we'll straighten the legs. We're going to go back down again. So knees go forward as the hips go back. We're going to lift the heels just slightly now. Heels close to the mat as we straighten the legs up. Can we keep the heels just barely lifted off the floor and go back into that sumo squat, knees forward, hips back. So heels staying close to the floor as we start to straighten the legs. And as we one more time bend the knees forward and take the hips back. And then we're going to come all the way up this one last time. And then drop the heels down. Okay. Bring your feet beneath you now. Let's just, you can drop your arms. Let's just come up. We'll lift the heels up. And then can we lift the heels up really high? We might wobble a little bit. That's okay. Then lower the heels close to the floor. And then lift the heels up real high. We're just working to strengthen the ankles a bit here. Strengthen the calves. Lower the heels close to the floor. And one more time. Lift the heels up real high. And then lower them down. Great. All right, with your feet planted, now reach your arms out wide. Broaden from shoulder to shoulder, from shoulder blade to shoulder blade, out to the fingertips. And then take the arms and reach them up. As the arms come up, let the shoulders and ribs lift up. Your heart can lift a bit as well. From here, I want you to take a step back. Your feet are hip distance apart. Take a step back with one foot. Doesn't matter which foot. We're going to drop that heel down and then bend your front knee on the leg that didn't step back. Bend that other knee forward. So the back heel is down, the front knee is bent. Now, can you lift your arms up? Lift your heart up. Lift your shoulders and ribs up. Take a big breath. And then lower your arms. Step that back foot in. Just put a little stretch in the front of the hip there. Let's do that again. Take the arms out. Inhale the arms up. And then take the other leg and step that foot back. Feet are hip distance apart. Let that heel go down on the back leg. And then bend your front knee forward. And with that front knee bent, back heel down, again, lift your heart up. Lift your sternum, lift your shoulders, lift your ribs. Big breath here. And then drop your arms and step your back foot in. Just take a moment here. Notice how you're feeling and take a breath. Nice. All right, let's come and stand at the front of our mats. We're going to ground down again through the feet to take the arms out. Inhale the arms up. And this time we're going to swan dive forward. Arms are reaching out. We'll fold over the legs, arms and head heavy. Let's bring hands up onto shins. Inhale and lengthen through the crown of the head. And then exhale and fold over again. We're going to bring our hands to the floor and step our feet back to downward facing dog. Grounding down through the hands, we'll take the hips way up and back as we breathe in. We'll exhale, bringing shoulders forward, coming into our plank pose. So we're going to be holding plank for a while here now. So there's always the option to lower the knees down. So maybe your knees are down, maybe your knees are up. One option is to just hold this position. But for a slightly greater challenge, could you take one toe and point it back and put that foot down? Could you take the other toe, point it back? Or if you're on your knee, you could just lift a knee and drop the knee down. Next variation, could you lift one hand slightly off the floor and put it back down? Could you lift your other hand slightly off the floor and put it back down? Now, final variation, you can do one of the ones we just did or hold plank. Could you lift one hand and the opposite leg off and then put the hand and leg down? Could you lift the other hand and the other foot off and then put them back down? Nice. Let's go up to down dog again. Take a breath here. Again, lower to straight arm plank. Hold here for a breath. And then we'll lower down. You could drop to your knees or just make your way down onto your belly. We'll slide the hands back a bit so that our chest can sink more fully into the floor. Rotating the chin in so that we're just hovering our nose barely off the ground. We'll reach back through the toes as we lengthen through the crown. Let's inhale up to baby cobra. Pulling the heart forward. You can kind of press the heel of your hands back, press your elbows back as you pull your heart forward. We'll exhale and lower down. Let's do that again. Inhale up to baby cobra, but this time we'll lift our hands up. Let's hug the elbows in, squeeze the upper back a bit here. Keep the back of the neck long, lift your heart, and then release the hands, release the chest. This time, keeping hands on the floor, we'll inhale up to baby cobra. We could stay here or push down to come up a bit more into cobra. And then we'll lower back down. Nice. Let's push up to knees. We'll lift the knees, coming into plank. We'll lift the hips up and back to downward facing dog. Let's breathe in and out here. Looking forward, let's walk our feet up towards our hands. We'll plant our feet beneath us. And let's just reverse swan dive. We'll sweep our arms out, inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, our arms down at our side. We'll do that again. Rooting down, inhale and reach out and up. Exhaling, swan dive forward. Bringing hands to the floor. Let's step back to downward facing dog. We'll breathe in and out here. And we'll lower to straight arm plank. So again, if this is too much on your wrists, you can take a little weight off with your knees down. If it's too much on your wrists, you could just transfer it to forearms, and you could try lifting one arm at a time from your forearms. So maybe you're on your knees, maybe you're not on your knees. Could you either just point one leg back at a time or point one toe back and lift your hand up? And you could just do the feet, or you could just do the legs, or you could try and do them both. So lots of options here. Lifting one foot at a time, lifting one hand at a time, or trying to lift opposite arm and opposite leg. Nice. Let's hold plank for a breath. And again, lower ourselves down. Right. From here, reach both your arms forward. So we have our arms forward on the floor. We have our legs reaching back. We can rotate the chin in so the back of the neck is long. Can we lift one arm up and lift the opposite leg? So the front of that hip presses down as the leg lifts up. And then release that arm and leg down. Let's do the other side. Lift the other arm and the other leg up as you breathe in, and then lower them down. So first side, lift the arm and leg, breathe in, and lower down. Second side, lift the arm and leg, breathe in, and lower down. Let's go a little faster. One arm and one leg. As that arm and leg come down, other arm and leg. As that arm and leg come down, other arm and leg. As that arm and leg come down, other arm and leg. And maybe a little faster. So one side, and then the other side. One side, and then the other side. One side, and then the other side. Last one side, and then the other side. Both arms and legs are down. Now last variation, can we lift the legs and lift the arms? Superman pose here. We don't need to take the chin forward. Keep the back of the neck long. Take one more breath and then release down. Nice job. Let's bring our hands back next to chest. We're going to push back to knees. Let's take the hips all the way back and sit back into child's pose. Breathing in and out here. Checking in, noticing how you feel. That back bending work is rather stimulating. And then we come into this forward bending position and we may find a sense of calming as we breathe here. With your next inhale, lift your head up, and we're just going to come up onto knees. So we're going to be kneeling on one knee. If you're on a hard surface, you might want to take your blanket and unfold it, because we're going to be putting all the weight on one knee. So I think I'm going to turn towards you as I do this. So we'll just have the weight on one knee. We'll take the other leg out in front. I'll go on an ankle. So we have this knee and this foot hip distance apart. I want you with the back leg to think about pushing the knee and shin down into the floor. That action of pushing down might encourage you to straighten up a little bit. This front leg, the heel is either right beneath the knee or a little forward of the knee. We can put our hand on this front thigh. As we're pressing the back knee down, we're going to let the front knee go forward. So we're creating a stretch in this back thigh and into the front of the hip. And then we're going to push the weight back. If this is too much on your knee, if you want to just hold the wall and be in sort of a lunge, that's another option as well. Could be holding the wall, could be holding a chair. So we're pushing the weight of the back knee and shin down as we're bending the front knee and feeling that stretch in the back leg. Yeah. The next time we bring the weight onto that front foot, let's take that same arm as the back leg and reach it up. Pressing the back knee down. As we reach up with the arm, we'll take a breath. And then leaning forward, we'll start to bring both hands to the floor. So we might just be here, letting that back hip sink down a bit. Some of us might explore lifting the back leg up, and that's going to stretch a little more into the front of the thigh. If that's feeling okay and you want to go a little deeper, you might reach back for that foot with that same arm. Push the foot into your hand to deepen the stretch in that back thigh. You could take your other arm out in front if you like, and take a breath. And then release. Let's push the weight back, and we're going to change legs. So again, if that's too much on your knee, go ahead and cushion that knee. Step your other foot out in front. Have your heel maybe a little forward of that front knee. Your hands can go onto that front knee. Let's put weight in the back knee and shin as we let the weight move into the front leg. And see how far you want to go. And then let the weight move back. So we're letting the weight settle into the front foot, letting this back leg receive a stretch, and then pushing the weight back. Press that knee and shin down as the weight moves into the front leg. And then back. This next time, as we come forward, we're pressing the knee and shin down. Let's take that same arm and reach it up. Lift the shoulder, lift the rib. Take a breath. And then bring the hand down. Bring both hands to the floor. And you might just be here, letting that back hip sink. You might explore lifting the back leg up. This is not for everyone. If that feels all right, you might reach back for that foot. Pushing the foot into your hand, you could lift the other arm up as well. And take a breath. Good. Then we'll release. We'll come back to knees. All right, let's just take child's pose again. You can bring your knees together, sit back on your heels, round down. There was some probably back bending going on there. So now we'll round the spine. Breathe in and out. Lifting the head up, reach your arms way out in front. And let's come again up to downward facing dog. Breathing in and out here. From here, let's take the right leg up in the air. Lift the leg up high. Could you bend the knee and leave the knee up? Just drop the heel towards the bum. Could you lift the knee even higher and open your hip to that side wall a little bit? Open up and breathe. And then we're going to swing that knee down, swing it up and in, look forward. We're going to try and step that foot out in front. If you need to drop to the knee and step the foot out, that's fine. We're going to get into this low lunge position. And then you could bring your hand on the front knee. We're going to rise up. Let's bring our hands to hips. And can we square our hips to the short line of the mat? The front knee is bent. Could we bend it a bit more? And then we're going to straighten that front leg. If you need to hold onto a wall here or hold onto a chair, that's fine. Just grab a wall, grab a chair. We're going to bend the front knee and straighten it. Bend the front knee and straighten it. This time we're going to bend the front knee and bend the back knee. We're going to bend both knees. Back knee goes down and then straighten up. So this is more of a down and up motion. Now, I want you, as your knees bend, to reach your arms overhead. And as your legs straighten, just bring the arms down. So inhale and reach up as you bend both knees. Exhale and bring your arms down. Inhale, reach up. Bend the knees. Exhale, bring the arms down. One more time like that. Bend and reach. And release the arms. Okay, we're going to bend the front knee, bring the hands to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. Do what feels good. And then when you're ready, take your other leg, your left leg up in the air. Let's just bend the knee and drop the heel towards the bum. The knee is still high. Could we lift the knee a little higher and maybe open the hip out to the side? Take a breath. And then swing that knee up and in. Look forward, step that foot out into a lunge. Get into your low lunge. You could place your hand on your knee to help you rise up. Bring your hands to hips. Square your hips forward. Now, front knee is bent. Let's bend it a little bit more. And then straighten that front leg. So bending the knee and straightening the leg. And again, bending the front knee and straightening that leg. This time we're going to bend the front knee forward and bend the back knee down. And then push both legs straight. So as both knees bend down, let's reach the arms up and then we'll bring the elbows in. So we're bending the knees, reaching the arms up, breathe in, exhale, bring the arms down. Couple more. Inhale, bend and reach. Exhale, arms come down. Last one. Bend and reach. And come down. Great. Lean forward. Bring your hands to the floor. Step back to downward facing dog. Breathe in and out here. Let's lower to straight arm plank. Take a breath here. Exhale and lower onto belly. Find our prone mountain. We'll inhale up to baby cobra or cobra. And exhale back down. And make our way up and back to downward facing dog. Breathing in and out here. Looking a little forward, let's walk the feet towards the hands. Plant our feet beneath us. And we'll sweep the arms out. Inhale and rise up, reach up. And exhale, arms down at our side. Great. Turning this way now, let's come into a wide stance. We'll turn the left foot in, turn the right foot out. Keeping this back foot planted, connected, let's bend the front knee. And as we come here, let's bring our hands to heart, turn our chest towards the computer, and just reach the arms out. Nice and broad and open here. Take the back hand, drop it on the back leg. Take the right hand, inhale that arm up and back. Reverse warrior. Then exhale that arm down. We're going to tip over and bring the forearm on the front thigh. This back arm, we're going to sweep it out in front. Bring it overhead, pinky down, thumb up. Let's roll the belly and chest towards the camera. And then release the head down. Reach long with that top arm and take a breath. And then sweep that arm down. Reach it back behind. Inhale and rise up. And then exhale, arms down. We'll do that on the other side. Straighten that leg. Turn the feet forward. And then go to the other side. Press the back foot down as you bend the front knee. Bring your hands to heart. Turn the chest towards the long line of your mat. Reach the arms out here now. Take a breath, spine nice and tall. Exhale, back hand on the back leg. Turn the left palm up now. Inhale that arm up and back. Exhale that arm forward. Let's tip the hips over. Place the forearm on the thigh. Back arm sweeps out in front, up and alongside the cheek or ear. Thumb up, pinky down. Roll the belly and chest towards the camera. Release the head to look down at the floor. Reach long with that arm, taking a breath. Then sweep that arm down in front. Reach it back behind you. Inhale, rising up to proud warrior. Exhale, relaxing the arms. Nice. Go ahead and straighten the front leg. Turn the feet forward. Walk your feet in together. We're going to work on a balance here. So if you want to have a chair nearby to hold on to, you can. We're just going to explore dancer pose. So we're just going to balance on one leg and bend the other knee. So first level of this balance is to just be here with a bent knee. If you want a deeper challenge, could you reach back for the top of that foot? Grab onto the top of that foot, and can you drop the knee down? From here, we could push the foot into the hand and start to take the knee back a little bit. At the same time, the opposite arm could start to reach up. Try to keep a little tone in your belly here so you're not dumping into your low back. You could lift the leg a little higher. You could lean a little more forward. Press the foot into the hand. Just stay for another breath or two. And then we'll lower the arm, lower the knee, and release that foot. Nice job. When you're ready, other side, balancing on the other leg. We could just be here, balancing on one leg. This is good balance practice. If we want a deeper challenge, we grab the top of that foot. And can we get the knee down? Continuing, you could press the foot into the hand and take the knee a bit behind. You could start to tip forward and reach the opposite arm out in front. Keep a little tone in the belly so you're not dumping into your low back. Take a breath or two here. And begin to lower the arm, lower the knee, release that foot down. Great. All right. We started with a block. If you can find your block, go ahead and grab it. You may or may not need it for this next pose. We're going to come into a wide stance with our feet parallel. And we're just going to hinge forward into a flat back. So hinging means the spine doesn't bend. We move from the crease of the hip. And so the block is just going to bring the floor closer to us. So you might find that you can bring a hand to the floor and keep your spine long, but a lot of us are going to reach around to get there. So we might place the block a little, the long way so that the spine stays long, or we might make the block a little higher, just to the point where we feel like our backs are flat and not rounded, okay? So you've got one hand on the block, take your other arm out to the side. Now your hips, I want you to see if you can keep your hips level and start to lift that arm that's out to the side up toward the ceiling. So you're rotating your rib cage around in the direction that that arm is lifting up, but you're not moving from the hips. So you're twisting from your rib cage. So you're facing a side wall here. So lift up and take a breath. And then bring that arm back down. Bring it all the way down. So again, your spine is long. You're not rounded here. We always want to have we don't want to have a twisted, like a rounded spine when we twist. So your other hand comes onto the block or the floor. The other arm goes out to the side. And then can you keep your hips just as they are and rotate your rib cage? That arm lifts up toward the ceiling. Your head and neck can follow. You're twisting your rib cage. Take a breath here. And then let that arm come back down. So that was kind of a practice. Let's do it again. So you might change the height of your block if you think that you could twist better with a higher distance. Place that first hand on the block, other arm out to your side, and begin to rotate. Ribs, chest, shoulders, but hips don't move. Take a breath here, and then let that arm come down. Place the other hand on the block. Other arm goes out to the side. Can you keep your hips level and just twist ribs, chest, shoulders, head and neck? Take a breath. And then release and come back down. All right, let's make our way all the way down to the floor now. And we'll come, I want you to swing your legs around in front. So you're on the long line of the mat. So we're going to take our hands behind. Now this next movement can be a little hard on people's wrists. So if your wrists give you trouble, you could be down here. If your wrists are fine, you're going to be here. And usually we turn our hands all the way in. I'm going to suggest your hands be more kind of angled in, but not all the way in. We certainly don't want them turned back. They could just be out to the side or slightly turned in would be ideal. Because when the hands are behind, we want internal rotation. So your hands are a little bit behind and maybe a little wider than your shoulders. And then separate your feet about as wide as your hips. And we're going to push into the feet and legs and lift the hips up. So we need to activate the hamstrings and glutes to get the hips up to the height of the knees. And this is the first level, to just be here, trying to lift the hips up to the height of the knees. So let's take a breath here. And then we're going to lower down. And every time we come down, if you want to shake your wrists out, you can. And again, if that's too much for your wrists, you could just be working here. And you may not get as high, but you're still going to be targeting these muscles. All right, so next time, same thing. We're going to lift the hips up. And can you engage the hamstrings and glutes to get the hips at the height of the knees? So you could just hold here, or could you lift one foot off the floor and bring it back down? Could you lift the other foot off the floor and bring it back down? Yeah, you could take a break if you like. Could you extend one leg forward and bring it down? Could you extend the other leg forward and bring it down? Could you lift one leg up toward the ceiling and bring it down? Could you lift the other leg up toward the ceiling and bring it down? Let's take a break. Drop the hips down. Shake out your wrists. Release your shoulders a little bit. We're going to go one more time. Again, you could be down on your forearms. You could be back with your hands, feet on the floor. We can just be here. This is great work here, working hamstrings and glutes to take hips to the height of the knees. We could try lifting one foot off the floor. For a big challenge, could you reach your opposite hand towards your ankle and then lower down? Try taking the other foot off the floor. Big challenge, opposite hand to ankle. Tough one. And then lower down. Good work. Okay, straighten out your legs. Inhale, up nice and tall. Reach your arms forward. Take a breath. As you exhale, point your toes. Can you lower yourself down slowly, gradually? Releasing your low back, your mid back, your upper back, your head. Reach your arms overhead. Take a breath. Exhale your arms up to the ceiling. Lift your head, tuck your chin, reach your arms forward. Can you roll back up? Inhale your arms up. Exhale, reach your arms forward, point your toes, draw your belly in. Try to roll yourself down. Inhale overhead. One more time, reach your arms up, lift your head, tuck your chin, reach your arms forward, roll yourself up. Inhale, arms to the ceiling. Exhale, reach forward and forward. This time, big long stretch, arms overhead, reach long, fingers to toes. And then bring your arms up. Let's hug one knee into chest. Give it a hug. Grab it with the same hand and just open that knee out to the side, taking a breath. Bring the knee in, grab it with two hands, and take that knee towards the opposite shoulder. Stretch into that outer hip. Do that again. Take that knee and open it out to the side. Take a breath. Hug that knee in, hug it towards the opposite shoulder. Take another breath. Bring the knee back, release that foot down, change legs, hug the other knee in, extend the other leg out straight. Holding that knee with the same hand, open the knee out to the side. Bring it back, grab that knee with both hands and hug it towards the opposite shoulder. Again, bring the knee out to the side, take a breath. Bring it back in, grab it with both hands, hug it towards the opposite shoulder. And then release that down. Okay. If you're feeling like one more movement, go ahead and give yourself one last movement here. And then we'll begin to transition to our final relaxation. So you might take a moment to place something under your head or place something under your knees. You might move to your bed if you're nearby, or you might cover up, whatever. Take a moment to get as comfortable as you can. And then lie yourself back. Maybe letting your eyes close. And give yourself permission now to relax. Our work is done. Our focused awareness, our noticing and paying attention. We're going to let go of all that, let go of all instruction. and drop into a place where we don't need to do anything. We're just going to allow the body to relax into the floor. Feeling the weight of the arms and legs releasing. Allowing the belly, the hips, the seat muscles to soften and release. Allowing the muscles of the chest, the shoulders, and the back to drop open and relax. Letting the weight of the head be heavy and relaxing all the muscles of the face, softening, smoothing, unclenching, releasing. And allowing the mind to rest as well. Taking its time to just be as we are. Nothing to change or fix. Spending time in deep relaxation is really beneficial. Benefits the body and the mind. You can continue lying back as I share this reading with you from Mark Nepo called Reflex or Response. The emotional patterns of our lives are very strong. They often come into being because we've needed them to survive. But sooner or later, we all arrive at moments where the very thing that has saved us is killing us, keeping us from truly living. Being invisible once kept us from being hurt, but now we are vanishing. Or listening once kept us in relation, but now we are drowning in our unheard cry. Or avoiding conflict once kept us out of the line of fire, but now we are thirsting for contact that is real. Early in my life, I learned to protect myself, and this meant that I became very good at catching things. In fact, I never went anywhere without my catcher's mitt. No matter what came at me, nothing could surprise me. And while this saved me from unpredictable assaults of my family, and even helped me in my odyssey through cancer, it eventually had a life of its own. Everything, birds, women, fruit, friends, truth, was intercepted by the quick reflex of my mitt. Eventually, nothing got through, and the very thing that helped me survive was now keeping me from being touched. The softness and wonder of the world was vanishing from my life. But I did not survive to live at a distance from things, and so I began the long and painful process of putting my mitt down, of regaining choice about when and how to protect myself. I began to realize that letting life in was a deeper way to survive. In doing this work, I began to experience an amazingly thin lining of breath, which I believe is in us all. Beneath it lives our impulse of heart, our true and genuine response to all that we encounter. Above it lies the reflex of our emotional survival, the quick twitch of our patterning. It seems our ability to be authentic and free can't touch us until we breathe our way below the twitch of our patterning. Often, this requires outlasting the anxiety of needing to catch or fix what comes our way so we can truly respond from the center of our being. There is, after all, a difference between helping someone because if you don't, you will lose their love or some sense of your own image as a caring person, and helping someone because your impulse of heart moves you to their aid. We are, each of us, in a repeatable war between defending ourselves from hurts that happened long ago and opening in innocence again and again to the unexpected touch of life. That was a long reading, but I found it quite moving, and I hope you enjoyed it. So that's our time together this morning. You're welcome to stay lying down, come back and say hello or goodbye, or move on with your day. But thank you for being with me this morning. I wish you a lovely day. Peace.